Welcome everybody to High and Low, a podcast about talking picture shows.
We do films that are corny, and some that are horny, and some that win Academy Awards.
Doing all kind of movies from all kind of genres, serving hot takes like plates of lasagna.
Before we get going, a warning to you. You might hear some talk that's a little blue.
We sometimes cuss and we sometimes curse. We like to do it off the cuff and don't rehearse.
Now if this sounds like your kind of show,
Tune in,
Drop out.
This is High and Low.
Welcome to the High and Low podcast, where me, Mitchell McIsaac, and my co-hosts, Luke Slobod and Vonn Gonziola, dissect and analyze to the benefit of absolutely no one two contrasting films of varying quality that have something in common. Anything from a similar theme, a shared crew, a catering company, you name it, whatever we can pull out of our asses to make this idea work. Vonn, Luke?
Happy to be here. Yeah, thank you. What a terrific introduction.
It is a really great pleasure.
So that's the basic idea. What are we doing today? What are we talking about? We're doing...
Well, on this week's episode, we are going to take a deep dive and look at Beyond the Door, 1974, and the
Very well known and well loved
yeah,
movie.
yeah, perhaps the best known, and then The Exorcist, a movie by some schlub, pops up every Halloween, but
William Friedkin, I believe is his name.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Some kind of kin, rumple, still skin.
Yeah, a lot of people would consider it to be a masterpiece of the genre, defining, decades of film to come.
Oh yeah,
And I'm one of those people, I think. I love this movie.
Absolutely. William Friedkin, I mean, I wield his book like the Bible. He's pretty much my god.
Yeah, Luke is our resident Friedkinologist. If you have any questions about the man, he's the one that we'll be asking.
8 years, undergrad. I studied at the altar of Friedkin. I worship it as well as study.
Had a couple restraining orders against you, I think.
Well,
you were a pioneer.
I'll say it now, just to clear the record. It's not my fault what happened to him.
No, no. No one would ever think of accusing you of that. No.
No, I mean, I would think about it.
That's a federal judge.
Yeah.
But
Luckily, you hopped the border and you've come up north. Thanks for joining us.
the DA can't get me here, and I'm here to clear the record, clear my good name.
Yeah.
Perfect. So right now, we're recording this in October, so we're all kind of in spooky modes. What's everybody been watching so far this month?
Yeah, we have, I do have my October Haltoberween Spook Fest going on. This has become a bit of a tradition the last 2 years between us, trying to watch 31 movies through the month of October, to varying degrees of success so far. I think, Luke, you said you're at like 32 movies so far.
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I mean,
Yeah.
really just being a slug on the couch, really contributing to society in a meaningful way. My dad's there. He's cheering me on for once in my life. Go watch
I wish-
more horror movies. Like,
Wish I had that.
yeah,
No, you're putting up. You're really doing. You're doing a number on Letterboxd.
this is what the world is clamoring for, is more white men's opinions on movies, specifically horror movies.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's why we decided to start a podcast.
Yeah.
I got to throw out one solid recommend this month that I really loved was Demons. It was a 1985 Italian horror movie by Lamberto Bava. It's the first time I'd ever seen a movie by this guy, produced by Dario D'Argento. It's got some top-notch gore. I just love it. There's green goo exploding out of everywhere. It really primed me to, talk about these two movies we're doing today.
It's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
poetry on film.
Yeah,
Very much appreciated it. I don't know how it flew under our radar all these years.
No, but I want to check out more of his stuff. Top to bottom, I loved it.
My latest recommend would have to be Witchboard, another one from 1986. Who did this? Kevin Tenney. Yeah, just a really silly Ouija movie. It just goes all kinds of weird places. None of the characters' motivations make sense. It's the kind of movie it's like dream logic all the way through. Everybody's a fucking moron in it, and it's just beautiful to witness something so bizarre and out of the ordinary, which we just don't get anymore.
Yeah, no.
I could also throw out there as a recommendation Night of the Demons by Kevin Tenney. That's one I watched earlier this October, and it is kind of a little divisive, but it's kind of a well-respected kind of B-movie, Halloween movie. It's really good. I guess you could call it an Evil Dead clone, and it really nails like the demon effects and everything. But I mean, it's a poor imitation of an Evil Dead, but it does okay. It does okay.
There's a lot of good Evil Dead clones, and the aforementioned Demons is definitely one of them. It's just Evil Dead in a theater.
Yeah,
it does it fantastically, though. It's just so bizarre, so balls to the wall.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why anybody does anything at all. It's just all means to an end for somebody to have their eyeballs gouged out, or at one point 2 people were hung from a balcony. It was just the creativity they put into their deaths in a lot of 80s Italian horror movies.
I love the pimp.
Going back to the well.
I love how you just always have a pimp in these movies, and this particular pimp is one of the most defensible and good characters in the movie. You really are rooting for that pimp.
Yeah.
I thought he might actually make it through to the end, but spoiler alert, he's black. It's the 1980s.
Yeah. That's just the way things were back then. Yeah. We don't condone it.
Anybody seen any stinkers this month? Just something that's just, you were hoping it would be better, or you watched it and it was much worse than...
But I didn't care for Rob Zombie's Monsters. I hate to poop on our old friend Zombie.
I was going to throw that on, but then at the last minute, there was just a voice in the back of my head that warned me not to do it.
Your time on this earth is limited, and 120 minutes with the monsters, as charming as they may be for a fifth of that time, is not really worth it.
I was always more of an Addams Family guy anyway. The monsters never really tickled my fancy in the way that the Addams Family did. So
I was a Monsters fan as a kid, but do I want to sit down and watch a movie of it with garish, colorful visuals? Maybe in black and white it would be better, but...
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of Rob Zombie's work. I don't know, his 1,000 Devil's Rejects and the other ones were fine, just all a little too yellow, a little too trying to be gross. I don't know, just none of it came across as sincere to me.
The vibes are bad.
Yeah.
It is sincere, but something about his stuff, it's just off-putting to me. The vibes are bad.
Super grindhousey.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I love grindhouse movies, but...
Yeah. There's something about this kind of second generation, like, self-aware grindhouse where there's like, I gotta outdo what came before and be even grittier and grosser. Yeah.
Good for him for trying a PG effort, though.
Sure.
He sticks to it. It's clean.
Yeah? Okay. Well, I might throw it on for the kids or something like that.
I did watch a stinker. It was one of the newer releases on Arrow this month. It's called House of VHS. I think on Arrow it's called something else, though. But it's just like a real no fun, just kind of like flat, lifeless, boring movie.
Is that another found footage movie? Or?
It's no. It's just a traditional horror movie. I think it's European, and I'm using that as an excuse for why some of it doesn't quite work. Like, it's very European. Like, maybe there's a language barrier there or something, but I don't know. The dialogue is just between the characters is just some of the worst. It tries to be funny and it's not, but it's not interesting, and there's not really that much good gore or anything. It's just like, it's boring. It commits the cardinal sin.
Being boring is the worst thing a movie could be.
Yeah.
And nothing's if you throw something on to take you away and just being bored by it, it's...
Yeah. Not everything could be as breathtakingly exhilarating as our podcast.
Yeah.
Or William Friedkin's The Exorcist. But
yeah. Well, should we get into it?
Yeah. Let's dive in.
Okay, so the first movie we're discussing is William Friedkin's 1973 The Exorcist. It's a classic. It's about a movie about a 12-year-old girl named Reagan who is possessed by a demon by the name of Pazuzu, and a priest with a crisis in faith is called upon to help rescue her and kind of bring her back from the brink. And the mother, Ellen, played by Ellen Burson's just very fraught. They try every medical option, procedure, nothing works. Looks like it's demonic possession. Your move, movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic movie. I mean, what more can we really say about it? I mean, when was the first time you guys watched that movie?
I was probably about 12 years old or so. I was out at the lake at my dad's place, big open air room, and I'm completely alone. Everybody else is out at the fire pit. It's around October, yeah. And he had a big sound system, lights completely dark, sound cranked, and it scared the shit out of me. It is, to this day, the only movie that's ever made me lose sleep. Just like being alone watching it in that environment.
Would that have been the 2000 cut?
Yeah, that was the director's cut. It had the stair crawl or the spider crawl.
Mm-hmm.
It had the other little tweaks.
I feel like that there might be like one of those like Berenstain Bears. What do you call it when there's like a memory thing? I feel like everybody thinks they've seen the spider walk, but yeah, the Mandela effect. Everybody thinks they've seen the spider walk, but maybe they haven't. Or I watched it again last night, and I swear I saw it again in my mind's eye, but then it wasn't there on the version I watched.
Well, I watched the theatrical release yesterday, and one thing I was looking for is there's those little flashes of the demon when Ellen bursts into the kitchen another time, and I was just looking over her shoulder the entire time when she's in the kitchen, and it's just completely dark, thinking he's gonna flash, and that was like the image that kept me up at night when I was a kid.
That's a little controversial because that was an addition to the director's cut or whatever, right? Yeah. And some people were not into that, but yeah, that's the first version that I saw as well, and I always associate it with that kind of thing. I thought they were very effective, those little subliminal Pazuzu faces that jump out at you.
Love that Pazuzu face.
Yeah, gotta love.
I believe it's the face of one of the voice actresses who did the voice of Reagan, or maybe played her physically.
Interesting.
I should have fact checked it, but I mean, she wasn't credited in the movie, and she's on the comic circuit, and like is like, hey, I'm Pazuzu face. Look at me. Good for her.
For all I know, I could have been one of the voices of Reagan. She just had a really it's like a Where's Waldo page of people just coming out of the screen at her.
Well, I mean, how would you feel? Did you watch the credits last night? Did you see if you were in there? I won't be a good spook.
Bill, I want my money. I don't care if you're dead. Give me my money.
Time for you to launch that lawsuit.
Yeah, so
he's got no money. Alimony.
Was anybody struck with anything this time watching it? So we've all seen it before. Has anything kind of just pop out at you as new? I don't know how many times you've seen it before, but
not especially. But in comparing it with the Beyond the Door, there's a few things that like stuck out. Like The Exorcist really feels timeless, whereas like Beyond the Door, when I was watching it, I was like, this is so 1970s. Whereas like The Exorcist came out in the 70s as well, but it's got a way more timeless quality. That the iconic staircase, and there's like those brick buildings and everything. That doesn't necessarily scream 70s.
Well, the fashion is about the same though.
Yeah, there's definitely some 70s fashion on display. So
Burstyn's fits, and we'll get to Beyond the Door, but the lead actress in that, beautiful fits, beautiful women. I love the style and the look of that time.
A bygone age, a more elegant time.
So yeah, when I was watching it, I watched Beyond the Door first. We'll get to it, but the people who are possessed are different. Or both movies have little kids, and one thing that struck me this time watching is just that Reagan is just. She's just such a little sweetheart right at the beginning. You really get to know her, and you feel really bad for all the things that happen. And as we'll discuss later, I have different opinions about the kids in Beyond the Door.
Pretty much the opposite opinions. It's one of the biggest missteps in that film versus the other, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, they somehow took all the wrong lessons from The Exorcist.
Yeah, okay, so The Exorcist, it starts in northern Iraq. We have
I love that. Just puts you there.
Yeah.
So what I was finding last night is it kind of primes you for a different experience than what you're used to. If you're sitting down to watch a movie, you're not usually greeted with just music in foreign tongues and whatnot.
Yeah.
Being where I'm from, like, most movies that I watch have soundtracks or, classical music or something like that. So it immediately jars you and kind of puts you on your back foot and kind of just throws you into this different world where this guy's digging for I don't know what, but he's a kind of like a drunken old priest.
I think compare that with the Beyond the Door, where it's got like a smooth 70s jam at the beginning, like a jazzy jam.
So right off the top, soundtrack for Beyond the Door.
Yeah.
Better than The Exorcist.
Yeah, way better, yeah. A little more timely, a little less timeless, maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, and so we see Max von Sydow. He's Lancaster Marin. He's digging in northern Iraq. And he's kind of grizzled, and then cut to well-to-do Ellen Burstyn.
What's the deal with Max von Sydow?
Before we move out of Iraq, I mean, what did you say with his age?
Yeah, Max von Sydow's age. Like, he was playing way older than he actually was there. Because I think he was like in his 50s or something during The Exorcist. Like, something ridiculous.
Not even.
Dick Smith
Like, he was
aged
young.
up like 20 or 30 years, and it is
Yeah.
some of the best makeup. And nobody talks about that with this movie. It's
Yeah.
just how the fact that his old age makeup is seamless. You look at his hands; he's got the wrinkles on his hands. There's every attention to detail was paid,
And you'd see him 20 years later in a role and be like, whoa, this guy hasn't aged a day.
Well, yeah. You throw on The Force Awakens, and he looks the same. He looks like he walked off the set of The Exorcist, and then hopped over to
Game of Thrones too. Three-Eyed Raven.
Oh, shoot, yeah. He was in that. He actually looked younger in that than he did in The Exorcist.
Yeah, I watched the movie with my wife last night. And she's like, "What do I know Max von Sydow from?" I'm like, honestly, probably Game of Thrones, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a question. Like, what are those pills that he's popping? They look like Altoids. I was like, are they mints? What are they for? Is it ever explained? Did I miss something?
It's not explained. It's probably for a peptic ulcer or something like that.
If I remember Sunday school as a boy, I think fighting the devil gives you heartburn. That's like one of the tenets of the faith, if I'm not mistaken.
That's written out in the rule book and everything.
Do they put antacids in communion weight?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And
Okay, that makes perfect sense then.
they've been doing it since the Second Congress of Worms in 1712.
Now, what's that about?
That's when the Pope got all the bishops together and he said to them, hey, antacids, that's where it's at. We're not going to have no more heartburn.
Oh, man, I want to follow that paper trail straight to the top of the papal office.
So, he finds that statue of Pazuzu, and then we got the Pazuzu there, and he's standing there, and he's all like, got his one hand up, and he's got his dick out or something.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, hello.
Said, hey,
And Max von Sydow just kind of looks at it with all this dread, like, the music swells, and it's,
hey,
Did I wrong you in a brothel somewhere?
Yeah.
On another dig somewhere?
strangely familiar.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Friedkin has a way of just not lingering on a scene too long. He kind of always just cuts right once you get the point and then move on. Like, he'll show you 10 minutes of a guy walking up a flight of stairs, but the second he gets shot in the face or whatever, it's like, cut.
Yeah.
Well, that's effective in the French Connection, where it's like that fast pace. You're on the trail. It's a crime action thing, and it really works here in The Exorcist because it keeps you guessing, right? Just
Always on your-
you get
Yeah.
comfortable. You're jarred. You're thrown into another situation. Crazy loud sound effects. Pea soup everywhere.
Yeah, a little bit of shock therapy.
Yeah, well, that's the way to get the devil out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then he has a little standoff. So you go into Washington, and there's a well-to-do mother. She's a successful actress. That's Chris, played by Ellen Burstyn, with her 12-year-old daughter Reagan, played by Linda Blair.
We do see her shooting a movie early on, and she describes it as a Walt Disney version of the Ho Chi Minh story. And like, my wife had watched it. I don't know what she means by that, really. I do not. What 1970s liberal thinks of Ho Chi Minh, I'm not sure. But
Those are things you only hear in movies, like actors and actresses say. It's just like, well, I'm not going to do that. It's
When I was watching with my wife, she's like, she's such a badass. She's an activist. She's all rich. She has like a daughter and I don't know husband around. And I was like, is she an activist? I don't remember being an activist. I remember being an actress.
she's an actress.
She's acting as an activist. Yeah.
And I love just I'm pretty sure that was all, none of those extras were paid or whatever. Just people are walking by, like, looking like, what the hell's going on over here? All the people in the background. I wonder if do you think they picked up any extras to kind of come and be activists in the scene just out of curiosity, random people walking by?
Oh, absolutely. They probably got some labor union people be like, hey, there's a labor protest over here. And then they stood there waiting for their paychecks that never came.
Ooh, I don't like labor. I'm going to protest it.
Friedkin knew all the tricks.
Yeah.
He could coax performance out of anyone.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, he employed some, I don't know, controversial techniques later in this movie, slapping people around. But I have a feeling more people were slapped on the set of Beyond the Door than The Exorcist.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, had to be. Yeah, that was an Italian-American co-production.
I mean, you see that little girl get clocked pretty hard. We'll get to Beyond the Door.
Okay, so they have a lovely suburban life, and everything is going well. And then there's this sound, just great sound design, like where it sounds like an elephant is dragging a piano through the attic. And then the next morning, Ellen Burstyn's talking to her servant. It's like, we have rats again. We got to get some rat traps. We get some rat traps, and it's like a fucking duffel bag of corpses being hauled across. Like
Was that
not sound like a
no, not at all.
I've heard of.
The loudest sound ever.
It sounds like a space shuttle.
They've got big rats there.
Yeah, I guess those are Washington rats. The biggest rats are in Washington.
Yeah.
Snakes.
Okay, in that early scene, was that her little house boy, Carl? Is that the guy?
Yeah, Carl's
Yeah.
man-at-arms.
Her Swiss guy who has a questionable background. And it's never really explained.
Let's not split hairs here. Carl does wet work. There's no way around it.
Hey, okay. Is that a sex thing?
Whatever you need it to be thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get some 50-year-old ex-Nazi named Carl, and you just own his ass. He'll do anything for you. Even if your little Roman Polanski-looking director guy is coming and calling him a Nazi at parties.
Love that.
We might as well just go right to the party, right?
Yeah, they're having a party. It's great.
Yeah, it's a wonderful scene. I mean, all the nonsense coming out of people's mouths.
All the high society folks are there. You've got your astronauts, you've got your famous movie actors and directors, and the little girls in nightgowns, and
you've got priests. Like, have you guys ever partied with a priest? Have you ever been to not only partied with a priest, but been to a party where the priest is the life of it? He's just singing songs on the piano, and people are just eating out of his hand.
Priests can get wild.
I mean, we did some eating out of priests' hands as kids. We grew up pretty Christian, but
communion,
the Holy Eucharist.
Yeah, that one.
But they're having a party, and Reagan comes down, and she's my toddler's done this before. It's happened to all of us, I'm sure. She comes in and she just kind of looks everybody dead in the eye and just unloads all over the floor, and just a massive display of it incontinence.
Well, she looked that astronaut dead in the eye, actually.
Oh, that's right.
And she said, "You're going to die up there," and pisses all over the floor. It's just wonderful. Like, if I was that astronaut, I would cancel. Without question.
Have you guys heard of The Ninth Configuration? It's a movie that was actually directed by William Peter Blatty, and it's about the astronaut. It's like, what happened to the astronaut after the party? And
it went well for him, right?
He actually was so freaked out by what she said that he doesn't go on the space mission, and the spaceship ends up blowing up, and he ends up going to an insane asylum. And it's this whole mostly unrelated story just about the astronaut from The Exorcist.
That's interesting. I've heard of the title.
That's a fun little thing to do with a with a property, better than fan fiction. Just like,
The Exorcist expanded universe.
William Peter Blatty. Yeah, just wait. What's coming next? We got 3 more movies.
Oh, yeah.
William Peter Blatty, he's got a thing for insane asylums and stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah. It's good. They're good creepy Halloween movie fodder.
Yeah, they're done well a lot of the time.
We skipped over I don't know if we have more about the party.
No?
The director, the Roman Polanski lookalike, Burke Dennings, I think is his name. He calls Carl, the house servant, a Nazi bastard. And he's like, "Oh, I'm actually Swiss." He says, "No, you're not. You're a Nazi bastard." And then Carl snaps and he's like, "I'm going to fucking kill you. I'll kill you, you son of a bitch." And he strangles him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's flavor like that I just really love about this movie and Friedkin stuff in general. You just get to marinate in everybody's lives for a little bit before you really go into it, and just great flavor.
That shit is fucking wild. Like, it has not really anything to do. It doesn't really go anywhere.
It's just a thing that happened at the party.
Not like it doesn't go places like Carl does with his Swiss passport.
Yeah.
There's a dictator causing trouble in Guatemala.
I'm sucking Goebbels' cock or something. It was the line he had.
Yeah, just terrific.
A lot of crazy things happened in the war.
And I mean, we kind of went over how Reagan and Ellen Burstyn have this wonderful chemistry, like as mother and daughter, and we see them, and it's just so sweet to see them together, and she's just so normal and cute at the other times. I mean, her drawings are weirdly shitty for a 12-year-old. But other than that, she's very sweet and normal and
questionable motor skills. Yeah, she should be a little further along as far as that goes. Yeah, she's got the name of her, the whole thing that initiates this contact with Pazuzu is a Ouija board, where she's talking to Captain Howdy. That always stuck out to me as like a really fun name, but like, I don't think you could use that name like, that's a cowboy name, right? Captain Howdy. That probably appealed to children in the 70s.
When I was an altar boy, I had to call my priest that.
There you go. See?
Yeah, cowboys say howdy.
Yeah.
Now, and as they did in the 70s.
Yeah, but cowboys lost their popularity a long time ago.
That's true.
Do you think Captain Howdy is Pazuzu, or is it just a girl being normal?
That's actually one of the really great things about The Exorcist compared to Beyond the Door, is that there is that element of ambiguity here, where there is like some, you can read between the lines in some places a little bit, but
you don't really know how or why she came to be possessed. It just happened. And just bad things start to happen to her at an increasing intensity.
Yeah.
She's on her bed. It starts shaking around. One thing I was thinking as I was watching these two movies is possession movies. What a gem for just doing cheap special effects. You just have somebody rattling a bed or, opening and shutting a door. It's spooky if you got it right.
Do you know, apparently Linda Blair fractured her spine during that scene where the bed was being like shook violently around. I think that was the first time I had heard that.
I believe it. That thing was like bucking harder than a Bronco at Stampede.
God, I don't know. Apparently it caused her like problems for is Linda Blair still alive?
Yeah,
I was going to say for the rest of her life, but
she appears in the new Exorcist.
Oh, she does? Okay.
Spoiler, cameo.
But
does she appear at the end at the halfway through the credits and be like, "I've come to talk to you about The Exorcist"?
She's the Easter egg.
Yeah, she's got an eye patch now.
Oh man.
Why they bring the Exorcist together? Unite the Exorcist.
Get the Beyond the Door folks in here.
But that was just one of the fun little like liberties William Friedkin took for the performances. Like we talked about how he slapped the priest in the face to get, like, that was not an actor, that was a real priest who was not giving a good performance, and so William Friedkin wanted to kind of shock him into a good performance. It gave him a good smack. That's why his hands are trembling in that scene, because he had literally just been slapped in the face by William Friedkin. So
he was kind of famous for doing stuff like that, catching his actors off guard.
But it produced, you can't argue with results.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, we haven't even really talked about Father Karras, played by Jason Miller, I believe is his name.
That's right.
He's amazing. I don't really have much more to say about him. He's got these haunted eyes and just
Yeah.
you see him doing that service and that communion later on in the movie, and I would be out of there. Like, I just
just like a broken man. He's lost everything that he believes in. He's just seen some shit.
It's the perfect guy to go up against the demon, because there's so much ammunition there for the demon to throw at him with his like guilt over his mother and all that. You know, his questioning his faith. You know, he's the perfect foil for Pazuzu.
And his poor mother, the old Greek woman, I believe, she's just sitting around there listening to Greek music at like maximum volume all day long.
Yeah. Can hardly walk. Her legs busted up so bad, or, you know, she's got the whatever is affecting her.
Why'd you do this to me, Amy? Why you abandoned me? What a terrible mother. Who would say that shit to a kid on their deathbed?
I tried. Yeah. A little compassion.
Yeah. And it's that now it's standard. But Ma, you got to go live in a home. No, I'll die in this house. I'll tear the house down and the wrecking ball knock all the rubble around me, and that'll be my tomb.
She was from the old country, man. They had an old way of looking at things. You know?
Yeah, she was born in that house, and she's gonna die in that house. But no, actually, she dies later on in a home, and this poor guy is just continues to get beaten down, and he just doesn't know what it's all for.
What is up at that place? Was that a hospice?
I don't know.
It seemed like a sanitarium.
Yeah.
It was like everybody was
like
cheese slid off their crackers a little bit.
a place for it didn't seem that nice either. It seemed like maybe a poor person place. Like,
right. Oh yeah.
yeah.
They explained that too. It was like a pauper's hospital or whatever.
Yeah, probably hooked him up through the church, or it didn't look like a nice place to be. And she passed away, and he's heartbroken. And so his other priest buddy, the guy who's just the life of the party earlier, he comes and he comforts him. And Father Karras is, you know, at the bottom of a handle of Jack Daniels or something like that. He
knows how to party.
They're Scotch guys. They're in these old movies. It's always Scotch, and it's always cheap Scotch. It's Chivas or it's J&B.
Yeah,
you see it everywhere in the 1970s. Everybody was they didn't drink water. It's just cheap Scotch.
No,
a more civilized time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, choked it down.
Just like the doctor when they first take Greg in for the ultrasounds or whatever. And, you know, the second he steps out the door, he's lighting up a smoke to break some really bad news.
Got to steady my nerves before I deliver this news.
Just blowing smoke rings in Ellen Burstyn's face.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem with your daughter is. We'll do some more tests.
Hysterical.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go slap her around and electrocute her.
Okay, so then she sees a psychiatrist, and she sees these doctors. Then they go and see this hypnotist, and he basically within like 10 seconds realizes he's in way over his fucking head. He basically shits his pants. Like, okay, now put yourself in Ellen Burstyn's shoes, Chris's shoes. How far down that list would you have to go before you'd call an exorcist?
What's up?
Ooh. Like, is there anything between a hypnotist and an exorcist that you might reach out to?
Well, here's what I think happened. I think she phoned every therapist or psychiatrist. I forget what they said, that she's like, you're going to have to go to psychiatry. I think she phoned everybody, and then the last person in the book had their label wrong, and it turned out that they were actually a hypnotist. Because it's like, you got to go to a psychiatrist. And then it's like, you're getting sleepy. I'm like, I think people know what these words mean.
Yeah, there's probably something to that. Yeah, I'm not sure it would ever occur to me to ever go for The Exorcist, you know? I don't think that would be on my list at all.
I mean, when she starts speaking in tongues and speaking, I don't know.
She didn't go that.
My kid creeps me out sometimes. I mean, and by sometimes I mean a lot. He'll just be like standing in the dark in the hallway or whatever, and turn all the way around. I'm scared shitless, but like the second he starts speaking Latin, I'm calling an exorcist.
Yeah, starts speaking backwards language.
Yeah.
She was pretty much forced to go by like 30 doctors in her room, though. They're like, I don't know. Everybody's just like, you know, shrugging their shoulders, pulling their pockets out, and moths are flying out. And like, I don't know, maybe try exorcism. And that's what it came to, is it was the last option. Which, as it would be, right? Because
an act of desperation.
I think I might just go for the exorcism first if I were in such a situation, or any situation, like if I sprain my knee.
Get the weird things out of the way first. Yeah, then you can worry about going to a doctor or whatever. That's always a smart strategy.
So it's to be exorcism. She talks to some people. I'm like, yeah, I know a guy. I might know a guy who does a little exorcism.
First, she meets up with Father Karras, the world's hottest priest. He's running around jogging, and he just looks so fine.
Pavement.
Nice head of hair on him.
Oh, yeah.
Second she meets him, she's standing on the bridge. She's incognito. She sees him. She's like, smokes, let's go.
Yeah,
got smokes.
It's like, of course.
This guy's got smokes.
Yeah, he was just going for a jog, so and it is the 70s, so of course he has his smokes on him. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, I'd like to talk to you about I've seen you around. You need to come and look at my daughter because she's doing things with crucifixes and just she has open sores and wounds all over her face for no reason.
It's just not good for anyone.
No. It's really affecting the house's morale.
Is it a metaphor for puberty? Is that what it's all about at the end of the day? Is that, Reagan's getting hair in strange places?
I mean, you could interpret it that way, but I don't think that's necessarily what this movie is. I think back in the day when there was a horror movie or an elevated horror movie, if you wish, it didn't always have to be about social justice or just grief.
It could really be about
an evocative story. That's what.
Yeah, we're Catholics and we're scared of the devil.
Yeah, I was really surprised watching it this time. How much I don't think I ever realized how much Father Karras is the main character. Like it's his story, and everything kind of like before and after him is kind of like a prologue and an epilogue.
Yeah,
like that's it.
Gets the most screen time, I think.
Yeah, and it's for me when I was watching it's about a man who's had a crisis of faith, and you can see there's that one scene later where he decides to save Reagan, basically it's like Mickey's in his ears. You gotta get in there. You gotta one more exorcism, and you can see a look on his face, and he's just like it sets in, and that's like his moment of that's his heroic moment, and he steps in, and ultimately it claims his life.
Yeah, little bittersweet there,
but they bring him in. And he's like, it's some pretty weird shit. She just spit a bunch of pea soup all over my face. You gotta admit, maybe your daughter maybe there's something wrong with her.
That's another thing that Friedkin didn't warn his actor about. He said, "Oh, that puke isn't gonna hit you," and then he's like, "No, get it in his mouth."
Yeah, his look of disgust is 100% genuine.
Yeah, but he kept it.
But I don't know why it was just like split pea soup, wasn't it? You think? Everybody be open up their mouths trying to get that stuff in there.
I run around with my mouth open all the time, just hoping something might fall in.
Blah.
Usually other yellow and green substances that just find their way.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's a risk.
And it's an upgrade for sure.
Mm-hmm. So should all be so blessed.
And so Father Karras is like, you know what? As Ellen Burson's doing his laundry and like ironing his priest's frock or whatever, because he has to hang out in his skivvies while she cleans all the vomit off of him. He's like, yeah, you know what? I'll talk to my boss. We'll see what we can do. And instant skepticism. But then they're like, well, what about Father Merrick? Oh no, he's gone off the rocker. Oh no, he's still around. He's up for an exorcism. Remember that thing he did back 10 years ago?
Yeah, they explore that in
DTE. Down to exercise.
It's practically a hobby for him. Part of his job.
Yeah. And he's the guy you call in. He's the ringer.
And I think we heard Pazuzu mention his name too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They show that battle in a prequel Exorcist, right? The epic battle 10 years previous. I haven't seen that one.
Epic prequel Exorcist. There's Exorcist: The New Beginning and Exorcist, whatever the
Dominion, the prequel to the Exorcist.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Both awful,
terrible title.
Because Friedkin was making it, and the studio didn't like it or something, and they wanted to rush out their own version or something.
It was Paul Schrader.
Oh, okay, Paul Schrader. Interesting.
Almost equally good film.
Yeah. I have to check that out just for curiosity's sake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do it if you have to. They're not worth your time. I recently watched Dominion, and it was unbearable. And I haven't seen Exorcist: The New Beginning since it came out in 2003 or whatever it was. And I hated it then, and I after watching Dominion, there's no reason to go back. But I guess if you hate yourself,
it has Natalia from Goldeneye in it.
that's
Oh. Is that
She's got some side boob in it, but like if you're gonna do side boob, just Rennie Harlan. Come on, just give us whole boob, front boob,
360 boob.
You don't have to. Give me 3D. I want multiple cameras on the boob.
I wanted coming up with those seats in the theater.
Yeah, if that's the kind of movie you want to make, commit.
I want to see what's inside the boob.
I'm sure Rennie Harlan wanted like full frontal, but the studio said no. And like, yeah, how about we give you like 2/3 of a side boob? And I said, make it whole side boob. And they said, okay.
And that's a movie with a lot of graphic violence in it. Like a kid gets torn to pieces by hyenas in it, and it's fucking hilarious.
Were those hyenas or were those like Pac-Man ghosts? It was pretty shitty looking animation.
Well, you have to fill in the blanks with your own imagination.
True. Mm-hmm. I do like a filmmaker who kind of makes you fill in some of those blanks. You know.
Yeah.
Let's see where Vonn wants this movie to go.
Yeah, it's like what Hitchcock did. He never showed the knife stabbing into someone. You got to imagine the hyenas ripping the boy apart.
You know, maybe Janet Leigh just saw a knife stabbing a watermelon and she just died of shock. That's how I interpret that movie.
Yeah, that is not how you deal with a watermelon.
But we're not talking about Psycho yet. In The Exorcist, they bring in a ringer. They bring in Father Marin. Father, the Mensch Marin. He comes in. He's like, I'll exorcise your demon. Him and Karis, they do a sweet secret handshake. There's a cool montage of like them getting their crucifixes and their holy water. But no, that doesn't happen. This is a tasteful movie.
No, it's not a Sam Raimi movie. They're not like gearing up the Bibles.
Groovy. Yeah, they're both like kind of scared shitless, but you know, Merrick, Marin, he's just taking Karis under his wing and saying like, we got this.
This is my favorite part of the movie. It's just the kind of calm before the storm atmosphere, just as they're getting all prepped before they go into the bedroom for the final showdown. And then it's just like world turned totally upside down. All the rules are out the window, you know.
Yeah, and most of the things that have been happening so far have been kind of passive. Like there's been crazy shit happening, like bookshelves flying across the room and stuff like that. But it's very seldom been happening directly to people. And here's two priests who are just going to walk right into it, just like open up hell's doors and just walk right through and get to work.
Yeah, it's such a perfect building of tension, like throughout the whole movie too, just from like the very beginning with the noises in the attic, just like the slow build up to this. And yeah, it's one of those perfect movie moments that you cannot replicate with a million Italian knockoffs, but try as you might.
No, they broke the mold with this, and it has been, people have tried to do it again and again and again. And I like exorcism movies as a rule, but nothing does it better than this. He lays the groundwork beautifully.
Do you like exorcism movies as a rule? Like, can you name any other good ones?
Did you guys watch
Emily? Because I can't. No, there's not many good ones.
Have you watched that Russell Crowe one? That's not a good one, but that is the most recent exorcism movie that I've watched.
It's probably the funnest one.
It's fun. It is fun. Yeah. It's good fun.
The last act kind of stinks.
It goes there with the demons and the head spinnings and the crazy stuff. Yeah.
Gonna get sued.
It has Franco Nero playing the Pope in it.
I mean, and the Pope's in it a lot. I was surprised by that.
Points for that.
Like, I was like, I thought the Pope was gonna be like off screen the entire time and not, you know, he's the Pope. He's in a shady back room and he gives an order to Russell Crowe. But no, he's in the movie a lot and he's like having aneurysms and he pukes. He just pukes all over the ground at one point. It's
well, that sounds pretty.
Yeah, he's like, so the devil power is so intense in the city somewhere that it makes him puke.
That was on my read.
That's the theme for exorcisms. Like, that's what happens when you are possessed. You puke.
You gotta puke.
Yeah. Be it a split pea soup or be it whatever weird green bile was in the Beyond the Door.
If that wasn't a rule before this movie, it's now one of the 10 commandments. Like, if you're going to do an exorcism movie, you need to throw up gross shit everywhere.
Yeah.
And this one does it really well, and it's very thick, and it's
best ever.
Yeah. There's only so many gross things a human can do when you think about it. So
in William Peter Blatty's Exorcist book, I guess Reagan was like pissing and shitting all over the place too, and had diarrhea all over the place. But
See, that was going to be my
like-
suggestion.
they were like, we don't need to do that. But like this was a post Hays Code movie. Like this came out in the kind of the wake where they could start just kind of putting wherever the fuck they wanted in movies again, and
That was probably a very smart move in the long run. I think that probably added a lot to the longevity of The Exorcist. She wasn't diarrhea splatting everywhere.
speak for yourself.
They didn't do that in Scary Movie 2, but that is something that they would do in a parody. Like,
Yeah.
if they parody that scene today, they're going to just go super blue with it. And they're going to go number 2, not just number 1 on the carpet. There's going to be a paint job everywhere.
What else would they do? I mean, maybe, you could make it worse. I mean, Jesus could actually be there with Reagan.
Like in Benedetta.
Yeah.
Chopping. Jesus should have chopped off some deep heads.
That's my favorite Jesus. That's my Jesus.
Have you seen Benedetta?
No.
He comes out, oh man, he's down to fuck. He's got a sword. He's chopping dudes.
Jesus is so sexy.
It's
That's the way it was in the Bible.
Man, if it wasn't quite Jesus, come on, man. He's a soft hands. No,
Yeah, they don't teach you that in Sunday school.
But they do teach you
in Paul Verhoeven school. And this is how you kill.
But they do teach you in Sunday school is how to exorcise a demon. And boy, these priests come in and they get their asses handed to them. Actually, they're all like, "Oh, and the power of Christ that compels you." And she's like, "Ah, fuck you, yeah, fuck Jip."
She's got good curses. Yeah.
She's throwing cusses around.
Stuff about Karis's mother.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows.
She's hanging out.
If you haven't seen the movie, you know through osmosis what goes on in these sequences.
Yeah, your mother's it. Yeah. And everybody, this movie is so ingrained in the zeitgeist, and for good reason.
Another great Dick Smith effect. I think it's in this scene when they're splashing the holy water on her and the words come out of her skin.
Oh, that was earlier. That was what Father Karras saw that. Oh, maybe that happened after that. It wasn't during the last Exorcist scene, but Father Karras saw it.
Did he win the Oscar for this movie?
I don't know. This is the first year they had the category, and he might have.
He won the Oscar for that Dustin Hoffman movie he did, where he gave Dustin Hoffman like age makeup.
Oh,
which was less convincing than Father Marin's, I think.
I love Father Marin's makeup. He looks so good, and they're going in there, and things are not going well. They go out, they crack open like a little Monster energy drink to get their mojo back, and they're trying to figure it out. They're catching their second wind.
Yeah. Round two.
It
actually is like a boxing match. The scenes outside of the bedroom are like the you're getting work done by your cut man. Yeah.
Oh, which is good because Father Karras is a boxer and he's yoked and ready to go.
He's even got his and Merrick's got his fucking towel boy and Karras too.
Yeah.
Clean this up, would you?
Yeah. And but Father Karras, he can't do it. He's all like, "Oh no, I gotta catch my breath." And Marin's like, "Okay, I got this." They go in, and then Karras comes in, gets it, and then Marin gets it. He just gets it. Pazuzu kills him, gets his ass. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess those pills. He was taking more of those pills.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he had acute angina.
Yeah.
Those
could be.
I mean, his tits ain't bad either.
Were they blue pills?
Yeah.
He's got to be fully torqued to fight it.
He's an elderly man. Yeah. Sometimes they need a little extra help.
And so anyways, they're in there and there's this big showdown. Maris he's out for the count and dead. And Marin and Karras is like, "Oh, why don't you just come into me? Come into me." And the demon is like, sounds like a plan. And jumps through, possesses him, and he jumps through the window.
The old bait and switch.
Yeah.
Kind of stupid for the demon to do that, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't look up what happens in Friedkin's cut from 2000.
That's what happens.
Is it the same?
Yeah. But what I think is like the demon was after Karras the whole time.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. Is like the demon's like he wants a fallen priest. Like that's like if you're going to hell and you're hanging out with your buddies and you're like slamming pogs on the corner and you come in and you got like a priest slammer.
Yeah.
You're the coolest kid in the block that day.
I mean, yeah. I mean, so maybe that's just all for Lion King, but like it's up there.
Yeah.
Decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Achievement unlocked.
I think that's maybe just the most fun for Pazuzu, is like, it doesn't necessarily, motivation that makes sense. Like, I was in this little girl for a while, because that's kind of obscene and weird, like, me saying all this gross stuff in a little girl, and I'm now going to jump in a priest.
He's cruel and sadistic, but, I mean, not as cruel and sadistic maybe as the one in the movie we're about to talk about, or like the Evil Dead demons that are so sadistic. Like, that's all they do is get so much joy out of just torturing people. Do you think he took Father Karras' soul? Do you think he's burning in hell as we speak?
I think Karras got his last rites in time. His buddy with the clutch.
Right, yeah. He
Clutch
gave him the
blessing.
rights. I mean, they wouldn't show the rights if he didn't. Oh, well, good for him.
So one thing that we didn't touch on.
Well, it's too bad about his mother, though.
Yes. Yeah,
She is still
down there.
sucking cocks
Having
in hell.
fun.
Yeah, that's... Well, at least we have something to look forward to when we go.
Yeah.
So when Karras gets it, he goes down this massive. We haven't talked about the famous stairs. He falls down like 1,000 stairs and breaks every bone in his body. And
It's an insane stair fall.
what happened before is that we didn't talk about how Reagan throwed Carl, or what was the guy's name, out the window. The Swiss guy.
Oh, no, it was the director, Burke.
Oh, Burke. Reagan threw Burke out the window.
It might have been Carl. We don't know.
Okay.
I wouldn't rule that Nazi fucker out, okay?
But then we get this detective kind of snooping around, and that's just like a great little flavor this movie has, where like all of a sudden it's like a legal procedural, where it's like, I'm just gonna go knock on some doors and figure out what happened here.
Yeah, those were the parts that I focused on the most on this watching, because after you've seen it a bunch of times, you watch all the big Exorcist set pieces, but yeah, all these weird character moments, like the detective asking for Chris's autograph, and that
Bashful when he does it too.
Yeah. It's precious, but like he's so not what you'd expect normally in a movie when that detective comes in and they're not buying your bullshit or whatever. Like, how do you not come out and just like arrest Carl? Like, Carl was at the party saying he was like gonna fucking kill you. I'll fucking kill you, you son of a bitch. And then next day he's thrown out a window while Carl's home and no one else. How do you not just arrest that guy?
Diplomatic immunity.
And pardon me.
Of course.
He's too busy going to the movie.
Has been revealed.
And then, it worked. She's fine. She doesn't remember a thing. Everybody, that's pretty much the end of the movie.
And she's well, and nothing happens to her again until Exorcist 2.
Yeah. And then until she engages the Exorcist initiative 30 years later.
Yeah, so after watching the undisputed masterpiece that was William Friedkin's The Exorcist, we took a little venture down into shitty movie town and watched 1974's Beyond the Door.
Yeah, so it was a really something special. It was an Italian feature directed by Ovidio G. Assonitis under the name O. Hellman and Robert Piazzoli under the name R. Barrett.
Hellman, how spooky.
Yeah. Ooh, hell, man.
Very appropriate.
Yeah, so this movie's just really cashing in on the monumental success that The Exorcist was in a lot of ways, and but also it does its own thing in some very important ways. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it definitely pulls off its own vibe. It's got some twists. It's got a little Rosemary's Baby flavoring in there with the pregnant mother as well. Warner Bros. Actually did try to sue the production company over this movie, but they settled out of court. Seemed like they had a multi-pronged approach to it. But
yeah, there was some similarities for sure. Some of the effects, there's no shortage of green slime and all that stuff, but also The Exorcist didn't have just an amazing, funky, psychedelic soul, soundtrack that was just also peppered throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, very jazzy, very kind of funky. There's a great tradition in B movies of just having a band play an entire song, and that kind of happens at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, you pay him for the day, so you may as well get all that footage too.
Yeah, you think you're just getting that music and that it's like diegetic?
Yeah.
No, not diegetic. Whichever one is the one where it's not happening in the movie.
Yeah,
usually it's the the main guy in the movie. He's the producer, and there's this band playing, and it's, you know, a bunch of black guys, and they're really funky and whatever. And I mean, you're grooving with it, like, right?
Yeah. Robert Barrett, he's snapping his fingers. He's just shaking his head. And before I knew that he was a main character, I just wrote a note and like, hey, get a load of this guy. This guy's just digging it.
But then the producer just immediately shuts him down, and he's saying they're shit, they suck. It's pretty funny. I
You got no talent, kid. You're a bum. You're a hack. You're all washed up.
Shut up, cracker. What do you know? Like, what does he say? He's like, you guys got to play better. Like, you got as much balls as a castrated jellyfish.
That pretty much was the notice. Like, can you play that but better? We just like it to be.
He goes, you guys play with your tools like that? You sit around and play with your tool, and then the guy's like, hey man, I don't have to play a 36 bar solo on my tool.
I went to Juilliard. Okay.
Do they teach you how to play on your tool in Juilliard?
It's a flute soloist.
You know, it can be hard to motivate jazz men. You know, sometimes you need a little harsh encouragement.
Those jazz men love their jazz cigarettes, and you have to just take them away in a little baggie and said, you can have some more of these after you give me my fucking recording.
Yeah. A little motivation.
Yeah. So,
it's an awesome way to start a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so groovy. It's just fun, and all of a sudden you know that like this isn't your mama's Exorcist. They're coming with their own little flavor, their own little taste for you,
and it's gonna make you dance.
And it did. I was hopping around. It was terrific. And so Robert Barrett, he's the music producer. Jessica Barrett, she's a young mother. They're a well-to-do family like The Exorcist. Lovely, and instead of having the most, you know, heartwarming performance by a child in pretty much any movie, you have these two fucking little demons. Like,
oh my god,
I expected the priest to like burst down the door and start dousing them with holy water. They were fucking little shitheads.
This little girl, she reminded me of like Tourette's guy, like you know, the internet meme. She just has like the foul mouth of a sailor, and with like a bit of beatnik. I was trying to like place what she's trying to do, and I think it's like a beatnik thing, like where she's like, "Hey man, stop giving me that jive and settle down and go to bed." And you piece of shit.
Somebody should call a priest to exorcise the washed up beatnik that's possessing her. She's just be like, man, that's like, you're blowing my mind with that. Hey man, lay off, cool it. Like, she's just saying.
Yeah. My favorite was, and of course, they're all very poorly dubbed, but especially the children, which is something you're used to seeing if you watch a lot of Italian horror movies. But like the children, it's like not even close to their mouths moving. It's probably adults voicing them. I don't know. But
yeah,
the girl's like swearing up a storm and cussing up her parents and everything, going, fuck you and whatever, eat shit.
Yeah.
And then she's getting down the stairs and she goes, God damn it, I forgot my book. And it's just so funny to hear a little girl say, God damn it. Like, that's such a grown-up cuss.
Yeah. It's actually fun. That's one of my favorite cusses around the house. So my kids will walk around saying like, "Oh god damn it, I dropped my ball." I'm like, "Oh."
I actually wrote that exact line in my notes here. God damn it, I forgot my book. Son of a bitch. Back up the stairs.
So this movie, instead of waiting like 45 minutes for the main little girl to start cussing people out, they're just doing it right from the jump.
They're shit demons right off the bat. Yeah, exactly. It's something The Exorcist gets so right, is how sweet and how much you buy the relationship between Reagan and Chris, and then in this, you just immediately hate these kids. You just want to see them splattered.
They're trying to make them like adults, you know.
They're cute though.
They're cute. They're cute. One thing I loved about this one is just that in the very first scene, it's just like, yeah, the devil's a character in this movie. Like the movie just starts with the devil giving like a monologue, like a spoken word version of the Rolling Stones' "Sympathy for the Devil," where he's just like, yeah, I'm the devil and I exist and I used to be in a lot of paintings and stuff, but trust me, I'm here and these are my motives. Like compared to The Exorcist, where there's a certain amount of mystique and like, is this a psychological thing? Is it actually happening? Why is the demon here? The devil's just like in the very first opening scene. He's just like, I'm here and this is why. I want that baby.
He's a main character. He's just popping up left and right and making deals with people. I'm like, hey, say, why don't you you want to die? No, well, you gotta help me out and go make sure this baby's born. Just
that was very ambiguous. Exactly what the devil's deal was with that guy. I think.
Right. Yeah. That was the actual opening of the movie, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dimitri.
Yeah.
We heard that name a few times.
And he's like, your 10 years is almost up, Dimitri. So presumably, I don't know. And there's it shows him going over the cliff in a car at the beginning. So did that happen? And then he made a deal with the devil to get 10 more years kind of thing?
I think so. Maybe it's ambiguous. And, it takes us a bold director to kind of leave some of those questions for us to ask.
A true master.
But
true master.
Then there's the other element of like, that Dimitri guy is her, like the woman who gets possessed, like the mother, that's her ex-husband or something apparently.
Yeah.
Don't they mention that? Like, I used to be in a relationship with him. And yeah.
He looks like he's about 40 years her senior.
Yeah.
I was too busy writing down a direct quote from the devil talking to Dimitri. Dimitri.
Dimitri. Always laughing.
Great devil laugh. Yeah. It's a really good devil voice. I gotta give it credit.
That Dimitri guy, he's around. He seemed like a pretty smooth operator. But when you were watching it, when I was watching it, something came up. The Devil Within Her was the opening title on the movie that I watched. And
okay.
Then I got confused. So I went and looked it up. And The Devil Within Her is another Exorcist, like a direct Rosemary's Baby ripoff that came out the year later. So I had to stop the movie for like 10 minutes to do some research to make sure I was watching the right. And I couldn't tell. It's like, oh, this one's this one, like the mother's possessed and she's pregnant. But in the other one, well, it's the baby that's possessed when it comes out and it starts fucking shit up. So.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, but this was the right movie.
That sounds about right.
I get. I mean, what we're about to describe, it's a pretty one of a kind movie, but
yeah. While somehow being I'm sure The Exorcist must have launched an entire, and Rosemary's Baby probably had their like a whole host of imitators.
It's one of a kind in its execution, if derivative in its ideas.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. It pulls a lot of stuff off pretty well.
Yeah. What did you think of the mother who plays Jessica? I thought she was pretty good.
It was a pretty damn decent possessed person performance. Like you kind of bought that. She sold it. She sold it well. It was creepy. The makeup effects were great too. That helped everything.
A healthy sheen, an unhealthy sheen and pallor about her at all times.
Yeah.
Always sweaty, and she looked like
Yeah, she looks a lot like Kirsten Dunst.
I had that note. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
Especially in Profile.
I would hate to see Kirsten Dunst get possessed. So
we don't see that. I mean,
she was pretty good. The kids were awful. Like both the leads, the Jessica and Robert were totally fine. Yeah.
yeah.
So we're kind of going about their life, and we're just kind of seeing what they're up to. And Jessica's taking her kids for a ride, and their son, what's their son's name, Max or something like that.
That's a good kid name.
Anyways, he's just in the back seat and he's just drinking a can of Campbell's green.
Oh yeah,
split pea soup straight from the can.
That's his quirk.
Right. Yeah. What's up with that? They're packing his little fucking lunch boxes that are like American flag lunch boxes, and it's packed with Campbell's soup.
So
like he's got his Andy Warhol. Like
he's a big Warhol fan. He's pretty cool.
What I think is he's drinking the soup. So. Spoiler alert later. Can I just spoil the end of the movie real quick? He's the devil, I guess, or something. So I think that he's drinking Campbell's soup, and he's making other people throw it up. That's like his demonic possession power.
Instead of the split pea.
About pea soup earlier.
Interesting. It makes perfect sense when you add it all up. Yeah,
I mean that, and obviously the kid was one of like Warhol's superstars. He was down at the factory.
Yeah, exactly. He was there when Warhol got shot.
He shot him.
Yeah.
No. Lou Reed was there too. Just The whole Nico's just hanging out.
Yeah.
Oh, I could see her getting demon possessed.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if there was a movie where we could probably look it up, and that's probably a thing.
Yeah.
She did some pretty funky stuff.
That should be a Warhol.
Factory would save her. Probably Salvador Dali. Or...
Red.
Leave it to me.
Mm-hmm. They've got a couple of Warhol produced movies on the Criterion channel right now for the in the horror section.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dracula one with oh shoot, what's that really European vampire-ish guy's name? He was in Blade.
Udo Kier?
Yeah. He plays Dracula in that. Yeah.
I love Udo.
Oh, I saw that. I saw Udo Kier vampire movie. Like, well, I'd sign up for that.
Yeah.
He's terrific. And everything he does, I wish him well. Unless he's dead, then I wish him.
Then fuck him.
Yeah. If ever there was a guy born to play a vampire, he's the one.
So Jessica finds out that she's pregnant, and she tells Robert, and he is completely shocked. It was a pretty funny reaction.
Yeah, it struck me as very realistic. I don't know.
Yeah, if you've ever had a woman announce to you that she's pregnant and she's not immediately saying she wants to terminate it, maybe you sympathize with this guy.
Hey, he did a little staring off into space, that kind of thing.
Look at his shithead kids.
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
you blame him?
I mean, we're gonna have another. At one point he's just like, a third. We'll have a third.
I don't. Normally, like, parents, when they hear they're having a third or whatever, they might, like, joke, haha, we'll be outnumbered, haha, but our kids are angels. But, like, no, like,
yeah.
This guy's just staring down the barrel of hell.
Our lives are over. Do you understand?
Well, Robert's telling little George is out front just cutting the brake lines on the family car.
You scamp.
Yeah.
Cut Dimitri's lines to make him drive that car off the cliff. Oh, that's kind of a spoiler for the end.
Oh, yeah. Well, that spoiler alert on Beyond the Door. Maybe. So, she's pregnant, and he's like, oh, great, I'll go buy a minivan. And then 2 weeks later, she goes to the doctor, and doctor's saying, oh, you're like 7 months along, or she's way further along. She's progressing quickly, and this is of some concern.
Yeah, this is of concern to everybody. You've got a kind of some mixed advice going on because, the husband now runs into Dimitri, and Dimitri's like really pressuring him to let this baby be born. It kind of comes out of nowhere in a really creepy way. He stalks him for a little while first, through several scenes, just kind of watching him in the background.
One in which he saves his life.
Yeah.
To
get hit by a bus?
Not a word of fucking thanks.
No.
Holds him from getting hit by a truck.
Just more cryptic bullshit.
Get the fuck out of here.
I don't like my life again.
Oh, yeah, while this is happening, poor little Jessica's just at home vomiting up blood with the worst, morning sickness ever. Just buckets and buckets of it. Just good gore when it happens.
Yeah. Good. There's a pretty good floating effect too, where she just kind of like levitates out of bed at one point and kind of floats around the house. That was pulled off pretty well.
Yeah, that was good. The head turn, they did the head turn. That was okay.
But that was after, I think, the best scene in the movie. It was the two kids and they're kind of hanging out. And Ken is the boy's name. He's like got a friend and is sitting in a rocking chair and it's going back and forth. And his sister,
that was actually really creepy.
She's like, I'm not fucking scared of that guy. Fuck you, you fucking fuck. And like, bullshit. Then shit just goes crazy in their room and they're losing it. And it's like pretty wild. Shit's flying everywhere. The whole room gets wrecked somehow. It's a bomb and nobody heard it.
It's good
precursor
to something like Poltergeist. Like
wasn't as loud as those rats.
Yeah.
Kids screaming and everything. And then they go to the mom's room and she's laying face down in the bed and her fucking head turns all the way around. It's awesome.
Yeah. And that is pretty sweet.
And while this is happening, Robert's at the doctor, and the doctor's like, and he's just saying that your wife's pregnancy is weird, and Robert says he calls it a biological absurdity. He says, By God, George, what are you trying to say?
And, yeah.
A great line delivery, and the doctors are like, oh, I don't know if she's coming along nicely, if not a bit quick.
She pulls a little bait and switch at one point too, because the topic of an abortion comes up, and she's kind of like, yeah, I think maybe I'll have an abortion, like talking to her husband, and he's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea, and then she's like, oh, so you want me to have the abortion, and then it becomes a whole thing, and they have an argument. That's what the husband, right? No, the doctor, but
yeah,
that discussion.
Yeah, and she doesn't. She's gets pretty mad about it, a little out of character.
It's what I love to see in a movie like this, in a B movie like this, like frank discussions about like abortion. That's really fun.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I tune in for. But
yeah, 1970s Italian horror movies are where I got educated on things like that. So yeah, this is how.
So like, it keeps going on. I mean, the mom had lost her mind. She smashed the fish tank and everything, and the kids are getting more scared of her. They're going up to their dad. Oh, Papa, please don't leave Mommy with Ken and me anymore. And yeah,
and he's all like, you kids suck anyways. I'm not gonna listen to you. But then Dimitri comes and convinces Robert to leave the house, and he's like, you gotta leave me alone. This baby needs to be born. Why don't you just go down to the bar, have a couple pints? He just like basically like kicks him out of the house so he can like get knocked or whatever.
Eat it. Bye, movie. Well, my plot service here is done.
I'm out. Exit stage left.
I'm gonna go for a nice little walk and listen to some nice jazz flute. And while he's walking down the street,
oh God,
he's surrounded by a marching band, pretty much.
Like this is a demonic thing, right? Like this is an aspect of his wife being possessed by a demon that like a group of jazz flautists
I think
just
it's
descend on him.
It's work stress.
Oh, it's work stress related. Yeah. But yeah, out of nowhere.
It's bizarre. I mean, there's a guy with bongos, but he's got bongos under his arm, but he's also got drumsticks. You don't play bongos with drumsticks.
That's far as I know. That's weird.
And then the other guy's playing a recorder.
With his nose.
Which is something my friends and I...
Yeah, that's fun to do.
We were not getting like vibrato.
No.
Like the nice tones he's getting out of it.
Great.
He could play in a concert.
It was a flute on the soundtrack, I'm pretty sure, and like a good flute player at that. You can't do that with a stroll on a recorder.
No. But these like people just follow him down like 3 or 4 city blocks. They're
badgering him.
Yeah, and it would be nice. It would be nice to get that much attention for a little bit, anyways.
Yeah,
you're the kind of the belle of the ball for a minute. Yeah,
it's absurd.
It was a great.
It was like the safety dance video. People out and playing music. I mean, if your friends don't dance,
that's fine,
man. That's just the way it is. But yeah, it did kind of, I guess, undercut the tone a bit. I don't know, because it was such a ridiculous scene that you can't, would it be possible to be creeped out by that scene or frightened by it? Like,
it goes on for so long.
Definitely not.
No, it's only possible to laugh at it.
It's like one of the most bizarre and superfluous scenes I've seen in a movie in a long time.
I think that Robert and the directors were making a movie about a music producer, and they were halfway through production, and The Exorcist was a massive success. And then they're like, "You got to change the picture. How about a wife? How about she's gonna give birth to a demon child, and she's possessed by the devil?" So then they had to backpedal and then make this movie, because it really seems like it's just 2 different movies going on. Like every time that he's off doing his business, it's a different tone, and then the house, it's just batshit, bookshelves flying everywhere, doors slamming shut.
Totally.
So that scene's from the original cut then, when that's the jazz guys getting their revenge on him for being called like ballless jellyfish or whatever.
That's how jazz players run up on you. They'll just they'll roll in 6 or 7 deep, and they'll just start playing sweet solos, syncopated rhythms.
A castrated jellyfish.
Oh,
How does one even do that? Do they even have genitals?
If you were properly motivated, I think you could do it. I think there's got to be some stuff floating around in there. I don't know.
All right. Let's find out on next week's episode.
We castrated jellyfish.
Okay, so then, what happens next? Dimitri's there alone with Jessica, their former lovers.
Yeah, and this is very ambiguous. The devil's plan is ambiguous. Dimitri, at a certain point, I think maybe you're meant to think that he's actually there to help, and maybe he's double-crossing the devil to help Jessica. I don't know. I kind of got that vibe at a certain point, but
I don't think it's ambiguous or meant to be so much as it's just incompetently executed.
yeah, and that's probably it. Yeah. It's probably just a classic Italian movie not making sense scenario.
Yeah. I mean, it's not clear. Well, obviously he's it's so stupid. It's like an Evil Dead demon with the really just fucking with someone for the sake of it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah, we're going to bring you back to life, or we're going to give you another chance, and give you another chance of love. And it's like so many different streams you're crossing. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you do the thing. Now deliver the baby. And he goes to like reach and pull the baby out of her vagina or whatever. And then the devil just laughs at him and says, no fucking psych, idiot.
Yeah. Because, like,
Plunge your hands into me. Plunge your hands into me, Dimitri.
yeah. Like,
Just straight.
Like, what is he, a frat boy demon? Like, what are you doing?
plunge your hands.
Next, you see that cherry on the stool over there? Next, you must pick it up with your buttocks and run it across the room and drop it into this beer stein, Dimitri.
Now do this shot of whiskey from my butt cheeks. It's like an Adam Sandler sketch of an ending.
Yeah.
It's horrific. You gotta admit.
Yeah. And then the demon turns on Dimitri, or the devil. It's the straight on the devil.
Yeah.
This movie.
Just to further clarify the devil's plan here, throughout the whole movie, I thought the devil wanted to be reborn in this baby, but then at the end, he's kind of like, Dimitri, you'll be reborn as the baby. Like, your 10 years are almost up, and now you can be reborn as the baby. Like, the devil kind of puts that on the table for a while there.
Yeah. He's throwing throughout the whole movie. He's just throwing new deals down. I love it.
Was Dimitri even aware of this part of the deal?
I don't think so. I think Dimitri got railroaded pretty hard here.
Dimitri's like, wait, I thought I was helping I'm supposed to turn into this baby? I didn't know that.
You're gonna Benjamin Button me?
Which just leads to, the ultimate confusion of the movie, which is that the little boy, as it turns out, is the one who is possessed.
Well, before that happens, the devil jumps into Dimitri, and then Dimitri dies or something like that, and then the wife is fine. That's kind of how her whole thing wrapped up, right?
Yeah.
Jessica's fine.
Right. And she's laying in bed. The baby is outside of her, and it has no mouth.
Yes.
For some reason. And she's laying in bed all peaceful like an angel.
Yeah.
Even though the bed is clean. There's no puke on it or blood or...
She has been literally smeared in every kind of body fluid for the last hour and a half.
Yeah, but if you pick up all the demon shit, like, I don't know if you've ever seen a childbirth, you're not going to be laying in those bed sheets clean and dry 10 seconds after it.
It's an immaculate birth. It looked just like Jesus.
Yeah, so peaceful.
Except it's stillborn, very much so, and it's not as disturbing, I think, as it wants to be.
No, but no. A lot of this movie does aim to shock in some regard. It's not pleasant, but also it's just kind of there. The no mouth thing was a little creepy. I think I like when things have mouths.
Yeah, it's more normal when there's a mouth.
Especially on a baby. So then that's kind of it. And then we kind of cut to a nice little epilogue where Jessica and the kids are off on a boat somewhere, and little Ken's playing with his little toy car, and then we cut back to Dimitri.
Yeah, the little toy car, it mirrors Dimitri's car that was thrown off the cliff at the beginning of the film. Yeah. And then it cuts the classic cut and freeze frame, and he looks at the screen and he's got the demon eyes.
Ooh, hardcore.
The Michael Jackson Thriller thing.
Yeah. And that's the movie.
He's definitely recruited into Linda Blair's Avengers.
Yeah.
100%. He's the big bad. He's who they all have to come and exercise.
Oh, he's the Thanos?
I guess he's the Thanos.
All grown up.
So did anybody notice that they had like a painting of like probably an Andy Warhol, a big cat painting of a pea soup?
Yeah. That's the boy's obsession with the soup.
It's great.
That's great character building. Yeah.
And the dad doesn't like it either. Robert, he's like, you're just letting the boys drink pea soup all day, and it's not
ain't
good.
normal.
It ain't normal, it ain't right. But he left the movie and he was chased off by such a flautist, so he doesn't have to worry about that anymore.
This is getting a little too weird for me. I'm leaving.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's and I gotta say, I loved it. I had so much fun watching it. I laughed. I laughed some more.
Cried, hurled.
Yeah, lots of goo. Big goo head.
Yeah, it's definitely an easy one to really love. You know, it's not The Exorcist. Few films are, but it is actually like pretty competently executed in terms of the visuals a lot of the time, and funny enough with the performances and the bad dubbing and the weird music stuff coming in. That it's a hard recommend.
Yeah, I got a lot of belly laughs out of this one, too.
Yeah.
I got to admit, I mean, I watched it in the middle of the daytime while my kid was napping, and I had it up loud, and the music's fucking loud, and then people are whispering like this or whatever. Didn't matter. I was laughing when they were whispering, like, yeah. I kind of had a blast with it.
Yeah, good makeup, good effects. Yeah, good stuff. So, who wore it better? You know, was The Exorcist? Is that it, or did Beyond the Door take the crown for greatest, one of the greatest horror movies of all time?
It's pretty clearly The Exorcist, I think. I mean, it's not really a contest, and y'all know my thoughts on William Friedkin. I think he's pretty much as good as any director's ever been. Yeah. I mean, when you have two directors on a movie, that's usually not a great sign unless their names are Coen.
Yeah, it's true. But, one of them did the directing in America, and one did in the directing in Italy. It seemed to
Really
say
unified vision, actually, considering that they got some shots in San Francisco.
Yeah. I think as far as horror movies go, or exorcism movies, you can't do better than The Exorcist. And as far as bad ripoffs go, you could do a lot worse than Beyond the Door, because this one's at least fun, and it gives you what you want, even if it doesn't all make sense.
Yeah, it's a real blast.
All right, well, that's it for this week. Tune in next time we're gonna go down to Nam and do some Namsploitation movies with a Rambo 2 and Double Target.
Double Target, baby.
Stop! No. It's too dead. It's got about as much balls as a castrated jellyfish.